in my hand a new report by the Foundation for Freedom Online. The headline of this report is Protection Racket, Why the Censorship Industry Needs to Bail Out the Media. And Canadians will know a bit about that. Joining us now via Skype from Austin, Texas, is the Managing Director of the Foundation for Freedom Online, our old friend, Allum Bokhari. Allum, great to see you again. We had you on the show a lot when you were the tech editor at Breitbart.com, but I'm delighted that you have this new position fighting for freedom every day.
Yes, it's very similar topic. The censorship issue isn't going away. In fact, it might get even more important in 2024. They're trying to do the same old things, but there are more free speech friendly platforms around now. Twitter, or X, I should say, and Rumble, which I know you're on. What we've seen at the Foundation for Freedom Online is that the censorship industry is looking for new methods and new tools to cement the advantages they built up in 2020, when I think censorship was really at its peak. And in this particular report, we're looking at sort of the other side of the coin to censorship. Which is, censorship is the suppression of disfavored speech, of speech that the establishment doesn't want to be out there. But the other side of that is the promotion of the artificial promotion of the establishment's speech and narratives that they do like. And the big concern for the establishment right now is that the mainstream media is in decline, and it has been in decline for a very long time. And especially with the rise of digital technologies and social media, there's less and less need to rely on old school newspapers and broadcast channels and cable channels to receive news. So there have been all these bills around the world, including in Canada, to effectively bail out the media, to either directly give them taxpayer money, which I know happened in Canada, or to establish a permanent funnel of revenue from tech companies to media companies to ensure that they never go under, they never go bust.
Well, that's exactly what's happening in Canada. I mean, reading your report, I thought, well, we're unfortunately further down that road than America is, because your report suggests that the censorship fact-checking outfits themselves would be the source or the conduit for the dough. In Canada, they don't even pretend. It's from Trudeau. They are going to be grabbing money from Google. Facebook has said they're not going to participate for now, but in Canada, the government affects censorship in two ways. Number one, with a stick, but that's too obvious. So the more powerful way is number two, with a carrot, by basically bribing journalists. Tell us what you're afraid of in America. I've read the report, and I could read through it, but why don't you just tell us how it would work in America, because I don't think your government is quite as meddlesome in the media as ours is because of your First Amendment. So how are they getting around that? Tell us how it would work in this censorship fact-checking dystopia.
So in the United States, there's a bill that media lobbyists have been trying to pass for about 3 years now. And I covered it a lot of Breitbart News, which was one of the only sort of media companies in the US that really opposed the bill. There were many conservative companies that supported it as well. But it's called the Journalism, Competition and Preservation Act. And what it does is very similar to the Canada's Online News Act and Australia's News Media Bargaining Code. Both of those two laws were passed very recently in the past few years. What it does is it allows media companies to get together in a kind of cartel, a legal cartel. And that cartel can then go to tech companies and effectively demand deals that give them a permanent funnel of ad revenue, along with other advantages they might ask for. Of course, the media writes its own rules as to who is and isn't allowed in the cartel. And there are all sorts of little loopholes in the bill to make sure that sort of independent podcasters and YouTubers and independent journalists can't benefit from the negotiations of the big media cartel. For example, you need a special license number that really only established media companies have. But what the cartel will be able to do is impose these agreements with Silicon Valley companies through arbitration that give them a permanent funnel of ad revenue. So even if their audiences are going down, even if people don't want to read them anymore, Silicon Valley will still have to pay them. And the way they justify the bill is by saying, well, look, our content is on social media platforms. Social media platforms are benefiting by getting ad revenue. The more people see media links and media posts on their platforms, we're giving them activity, and with activity comes more ad revenue. But Facebook banned news links in Canada when they passed
we know. You
the
can
online
post a Rebel News story on Facebook or Instagram. It'll show up blocked. It's like we're in North Korea or something.
I know, and it's really bad for independent media outlets. But one thing, Facebook's usage statistics were not really impacted by banning news links at all. And it's one thing to say that social media companies, tech companies, should share their ad revenue with the creators that are bringing them activity. But these bills are strictly limited to establishment media companies. It's not everyone who's eligible to receive ad revenue share. It doesn't do anything for people who get demonetized by social media platforms, despite bringing them lots of activity.